Welcome back to the Net Profit Bets podcast with me, Dara, and joining me as always is Niall.
It is.
We have been away for, I suppose, a little bit longer than we had maybe anticipated, in that we're back now on the flip side of Indian Wells. Indian Wells is just about to finish up. We would normally have done a podcast pre-Masters, but this time round, it kind of caught us by surprise, Niall, didn't it?
We missed the Indian Wells bus.
We did.
It pulled away as we were running after it.
I'm sure we were still very much at home when the bus was leaving.
Yeah.
We were nowhere near it, but it was kind of an inconvenience.
It seemed
time.
to start early. We just inexperienced shone through there, really.
Well, I think timing wise, we haven't really had any competitions that actually started the proper on a Thursday.
Yeah, no, we just haven't time to do podcasts really midweek. We got our bets in, no problem. Not saying we didn't get those in, but yeah, opening rounds were Wednesday, I think, or Thursday.
Was it Thursday?
Didn't really suit for a podcast, but there you have it.
Yeah,
we're on location now in Miami.
We are.
Yeah, broadcasting live from Miami Beach. Can't you hear the waves splashing against the shoreline?
Beautiful, a beautiful sound.
I'll put some sound effects there, just waves.
Fantastic. So what we have had though is two bets in the Masters at Indian Wells.
Yeah.
So very much on target with that, as we have been so far this season. Now, maybe you might want to take us through quickly the bets that we've had since the last podcast.
Okay, well, I suppose Australian Open we had two bets.
We did.
Maybe slightly off our mark. We try and aim for three bets in slams.
We do.
But we got two in. We had Tomic, quite a surprise, for 1.242.
Delivered
the goods in the opening round.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think we said last time on the podcast, this time last year, if we thought we were going to be betting Tomic, we would have laughed in your face and probably would have told you to leave immediately.
Absolutely.
And take your fucking Tomic with you and never come back.
Never come back.
But no, it was a very clean pass. I think I can't remember what the pass was, but did the job. They had Isner around too.
Big John,
always good in the old hard court, that big serve. He had no troubles really.
Yeah.
Then in Rotterdam and Dubai, two HP 500s. We've been a bit iffy this year about whether we should go for the 500s.
Mm-hmm. Unless they're extremely clean passes,
very clean pass. Which in this case they were.
Scriber, we found two.
It was a double. Call Scriber in Rotterdam and Dubai.
Yeah.
Had easy pickings for him. Really,
I don't think we could have been. We had discussed in depth ourselves about where we would find our bets this year, and it wasn't a case that we were trying to make up the fact that we missed out on one of the best in Australia. When it comes to the start of a new season, you can never be 100% confident how maybe players are prepared, what they've been up to, if they had niggling injuries in the small off season, very relatively short off season. But even still, you can never be as confident as you would be after maybe 3 months of seeing how consistent players are. But even that being said, when you have 500 events that have absolute clean cut bankers there, it's very hard not to go for them.
Yeah.
And Cole Scriber gave us two.
And he's definitely one of the more consistent players. If you go through his matches for the last couple of years, he's very much a player who wins when he should win and loses when he should lose, which is exactly what we want. We like people who lose when they're supposed to lose, basically. So he got us a couple of 2 wins there. Then we had TM and Acapulco. Exotic Acapulco.
Absolutely.
Small bet there, 1.183. That was a 500 as well,
obviously. He's playing against Tursunov in that one, if I remember correctly, and he lost the first set, 7-6 in the tie-break. But
look,
it looks as though we didn't watch the game. It was in Mexican time, obviously, serious time difference, but he did lose in a tie-break, but I don't think that tells the full story. It was a 2-1 win, but I think the fact that he won the last, second and third set so comfortably, I mean, I think the stats are there to show that he was very much on top throughout the majority of the game.
It's a rarity that our bets actually go for a full match. Usually it's straight sets.
It is.
Which is a great indication of how well the checklist is working. But look, at 3-setters, they're going to happen. I think it was a fine win.
A win's a win.
No regrets about putting that one on, but obviously, sweat the pants slightly there when you saw that result.
Yeah, just a little bit. And I mean, I suppose the other thing as well is there was always going to be a chance that someone will drop a set somewhere. It's happened once ever in any 500 event or any game that's never. We've never had it go to 3 sets, so it's going to happen once every maybe 20
That's fine
bets.
with me.
Fine with me too.
Fine with me.
Take it.
Right, then we had Indian Wells. We started off with Stan the Man doing the job for us. I was very confident about that bet. That's actually the bet I like and I want us to go for. I lost no sleep over that one. I woke up in the morning. I knew I was going to look at my phone and I knew it was going to be a win for Stan the Man.
And it was.
That's what I want. So you got 1.165. I can't remember who he's playing. Who was he playing against?
Stan. Oh, it was against Marchenko. It was
Marchenko.
Stan the Man was playing Marchenko in that one.
Yep, and then we got in the next round we had Nishikori.
Yeah, and it was a funny one, that one, because we both decided because the convenient time it was being played that we both actually
Watch it.
tune in live online and watch the game. And there's always that feeling that wouldn't this be, if this is the game that lost,
I've always found two things in the past few years. Like when I put money on a match back a couple of years ago, if I tell somebody about it, there's more likelihood it's going to lose. And also if I watch the damn thing, it's as if my mind is just somehow influencing the match.
You've willed it to lose almost.
I'm sure everybody has that experience probably, but no, he started a bit slow, I suppose, in the first. Well, no, he didn't even start slow. It was fine. He just for the first.
He broke him in the very first game, but he looked like he might not even hold his serve in his first service game. He did hold the serve.
Yeah,
I think he broke.
To be honest with that match, it was all kind of in my part pre-match kind of nerves. He was fine actually. I mean, he broke him 3 times in the first set.
Yeah,
and once he saw that, what's the lad's name again?
Kukushkin. Yeah,
he couldn't serve for shit. And once you see that, it's all happy days.
I think if you tune into a game and see the first serve percentage below 30%, which it was, I mean, you know for sure if your player's holding 50 plus, there's no way the other player's not going to be broken enough times to win the game.
I think there was more question marks over Nishikori than there was over Kukushkin actually having the ability to beat him. So bets on Nishikori are always like I feel a little bit dangerous almost, but that was a fine one. That was our last bet.
It was the last bet. We unfortunately couldn't find anything since then. However, hitting 2 bets in a Masters, absolutely no complaints there.
The thing is that the checklist did pass a few more matches.
It did.
But I'm happy at this stage to just stick with the best ones. You know, nitpick the best passes.
Yeah.
The ones with the least amount of risk.
The kind of players, like we said, the consistent players who win when they should, lose when they should. If you get the right odds on a player like that, you know, that... The only question is the bookie willing to take enough of your money, Noel? That's the only question in mind.
So that brings us up to right now with Miami about to begin pretty soon.
It's thereabouts.
We're still in, today we have the final of it in New Wales.
It is.
Raonic versus Djokovic.
Any thoughts?
I think Djokovic is going to do it again. He's not going to let this pass through his fingers. I mean, I'm sure he looked down through the list of possible opponents in the final. I'm sure
this is the one he probably feared.
Well, does Djokovic fear anybody? Like, he probably would have feared more hyped up Nadal, possibly. I suppose Raonic maybe would have been his second or third player that
he just beat Nadal yesterday.
He destroyed him, but at the same time, Nadal in the final is probably a slightly different beast. And I mean, Nadal always has it in the bag, right? Raonic still has to prove it.
I'll be honest, I personally think that you can get 5.0 at the moment, 4-1 on Raonic, which is extremely, I think, generous odds because he's considerable underdog for this match, and I think he's going to do an awful lot. But like Djokovic lost a set yesterday against Nadal, right? It was did he? It was he won. Sorry, he wasn't. It was tiebreak with the first. It was close. It was a very close one in the first set. It was 7-6, 6-2, I think.
It was.
I could see Raonic being able to get a set over the line, and if once you get one set, there's always a chance because I watched the Tsonga game, and Tsonga was very, very close to taking the first set against Djokovic as well, and Djokovic
has always been
a slow starter. He
starter.
is. So I mean, if you get Raonic hyped up on a final match, Masters event, and he takes that first set, I think Raonic is the kind of player who isn't just going to implode like maybe some other players. I think he's got a bit more to him. I think it'll be a very interesting game. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. But I would personally rather see no one else play against Djokovic in a final other than Raonic at the moment. I think he's the man who might be able to do it.
No, it's definitely a good final. It's probably the final that everyone kind of wanted to see. But I see it going that way as well. I think Raonic might nip the first set, but Djokovic is just going to find the extra gears.
Those gears that he has that no one else has. Yeah,
yeah, because they did meet in the Australian Open, and was it the same thing? No, it was straight sets for Djokovic actually in the Australian Open. So I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't.
Same surface, probably similar conditions.
But in a final, and I suppose a little bit more match practice for Raonic, given he was only just back from his injury. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Definitely,
it'll probably be a good match anyway. I mean, I like Raonic. He's definitely one for the future. Definitely potential top 3, top 4 player.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think I could see him rising above basically everyone other than Djokovic at the moment.
And there will come a time when I think Raonic will have what it takes to take Djokovic out.
Same.
But right now,
might be a little soon. But that being said, Wawrinka had that win, and it's always going to be that he had that one big final loss against Wawrinka. Can someone else do what Wawrinka did that day? But it's probably a bit.
I think Wawrinka might have been hanging around with Sharapova that weekend.
That's enough to inspire anyone.
So but I mean, should we go final? I think it's out of all the field that I'd like to have seen get to the final. Yeah, probably
that is
Raonic.
the one. I think. Yeah.
Well, I would have liked seen Goffin or Goffin, depending on what part of the world you come from.
Yeah.
I would like seen I think he had a really good run. I would like to see him get to a final, but
Andy Murray bowed out a little bit earlier than maybe.
Yeah.
I suppose that lack of match practice might have been a big factor, having given the birth of his child and all that.
To be honest,
Gabashvili
slightly predictable, really.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone kind of called it. I mean, he was saying things the last couple of weeks where, you know, his child is more important than tennis and his family is more important than tennis. And yeah, fair enough. Like, that's, I suppose, from a human perspective, that's to be expected.
Absolutely.
But from our perspective of
the last thing we want to hear,
wanting somebody who's consistent and reliable and who we can put our money on, that's not what you want to be hearing. And he's off the books now, in my opinion, for this season.
Probably.
And not that he's rarely at our odd range anyway, but still, that's why you're not one.
His odds normally really only reach our spectrum when it gets beyond this, quarterfinals and beyond, and then again that's outside our spectrum based on that stage.
I think we had him once or twice last year,
early in the season. I think maybe around the Royal Masters or something. There might have been one bet. I think he might have been on him at that stage.
I think it might have actually been one of the first bets, but obviously it rarely comes up. He's always similar to the likes of Djokovic and Federer at 1.04 or something ridiculous like that. So no, he's not. And even forgetting about the odds, I mean, the stuff he's been saying, no, not good. Not what you want to be hearing.
And speaking of which, stuff that you don't want to be hearing, David Ferrer came out and said something very much along the same lines as Andy Murray, if not just a little bit different in that he kind of said it's family before tennis now. And
I can't remember the exact quote, but he said something like, tennis isn't the only thing in my life.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
It's not the most important thing. And like what, he's 30?
I think he's 34 now, yeah. But very consistent with the right odds. Are we going to be able to be sure that a set down now, he's going to, especially with, given the age, the events coming up, etc., you would really want to be very sure to bet on him now, I would have thought.
He's not exactly on a blacklist, but he's on a grey list.
He's definitely on a grey list. We'd have to proceed with caution on him. In the same way, I suppose, we would with the likes of Nishikori, anyone who's had an injury, anyone who says something, just a little bit like, I think Kyrgios said something. He's been very consistent over the last 6 to 8 months. He's another player who'll come out and say, there's always next match. And you kind of want someone who's not going to be thinking, well, I'll get back on the horse next week at a set down. You want someone who's going to go, I can still win this match and fight till the end. They're the players that we want to be on. There's a lot more comfort in betting on someone who wins when they should and loses when they should, and fights to win regardless of whether they're down a set.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tomic is the same. He had that classic quote there a few weeks ago where I think he was playing in Mexico, was it? And Michael Phelps picked him up.
Yeah.
Saying, don't need to be at this tournament. I could be in Miami driving my Ferrari.
Yeah.
You don't want a player just before he's about to serve to be thinking about being in Miami, driving his Ferrari, picking up chicks, doing whatever a tennis star does with a few million in the pocket.
No.
That's not what you want. You want someone who's just all about that point. And the thing is, Ferrer was that guy. He was all about living in the moment and fighting for every single point. So it is disappointing to see that he's on the fade. But I mean, that's what happens. He's 34 years old. He's getting to that stage. And like, I'd rather he say it and just admit to it and give us a fucking warning.
Bit of a heads up, lads.
Bit of a heads up, lads. Sorry, lads.
Stay off me for a while.
Batteries are running out now, lads. Just stop betting on me, basically.
Yeah.
And I'd rather he said that, because you get a lot of players who will, for the press, just say things like, "Oh yeah, I love this tournament," or "Yeah, I'm feeling great this season."
Basically.
Yeah,
does that a lot.
You see it. You see it in a lot of those ATP official videos. They obviously get players to say things about, like, say, a tournament.
Yeah.
Say how great the facilities are. Say how well the players are treated. When really,
it's the same every tournament, though, isn't it?
That's not their actual personal perception of the tournament. I can't remember who it was, but there was a tournament there at the start of the year where they had somebody saying that on the ATP tour videos, and then he lost early rounds because he obviously didn't give a shit about the fucking thing. Like, you know, I'd have to root out to see who that was, but you can't really go by those official interviews. But stuff like Ferrer coming out and saying stuff like that, at least it's honest and upfront, and you know it's genuine. Yeah. And it's worth taking note of. So looking forward to Miami. There's no draw yet.
There's no draw, no.
So we can't really talk about it much, to be honest.
But even still, I suppose the way I was thinking of it was, in doing this podcast now, first of all, from a time perspective, we're probably going to be faced with another midweek start or later in the week start. So if we even did have to draw, all we'd be really talking about is probably one bet, because it's normally not more than one bet per round. Not to say that there won't be two bets in the first round, but if we were only talking about one bet anyway, it's all about how it pans out. So ultimately, the bets are going to be going up on Twitter anyway. So in terms of previewing the event itself, Federer's back.
Yeah, Federer's back. not sure what to make of that. He seemed to have a pretty serious knee injury the last couple of months. So
how will he get on, do you think?
I can't imagine he'll get on very well. I can't see him getting to quarterfinals. Maybe quarterfinals, but I can't see him getting past that.
Yeah. I'd be.
I mean, of course, it depends on the draw.
What kind of draw is he going to get? Yeah, if he gets a real a really, really strong up and coming player early on, like even someone like Tiafoe or Fritz or one of these kind of lads, you never know. Goffin, even like the seeding now, there's a lot of young players coming through, sort of ranked 20, 30 and beyond, who are beating players they shouldn't be beating. So you never know.
Yeah, it's bad timing for him because obviously he's cut out a lot of the clay court season.
Yeah.
And to miss to miss a master on the hard court and miss those 500 events. I mean, he missed Rotterdam. He's always a regular there.
Yeah.
That's not good for his ranking at the end of the season.
Because he had this timed down. It was almost a precision tactic, really, to play exactly what tennis he needed and wanted.
And then to get that interrupted now with that injury, not good.
Would that mean, do you think he's going to have potentially sign up for extra tournaments later on in the year that he didn't intend?
I'd say, yeah, I think he might.
You probably have not. Well, it depends on how important his world ranking position is to him now. Because, I mean, he's already, what is he, third in the world? Does he expect to be hanging around, getting back beyond third? Probably not.
No, I can't.
And he's got well, at this stage, Wawrinka knocking on his door, Nadal maybe not so much. So maybe he's not too concerned about the world ranking position just right away, because he doesn't have anyone really, I suppose, ready to take the position away. Murray's already done that, and I don't think he's going to be getting that back. So interesting to see how it pans out, I suppose.
Yeah, but he'll be there. So we'll see what happens. Right, so in the absence of a Miami draw, I suppose the best we can do is look at the players that are probably going to be there and past performances.
Well, I've got a few. Well, the main players are going to be there: Novak, Andy Murray, Federer, Wawrinka, and then you have slightly lower down the order your Nadal's, David Ferrer, we mentioned previously, Nishikori and Berdych. Interestingly enough, since 2009, there's been obviously 7 winners. 4 of them have been Djokovic, 2 Murray, and then back in 2010, Andy Roddick. So Djokovic, 4 of the last 5 years. 4 in the last 5 years. You'd have to fancy him to go pretty deep in this one. If not, well, he's going to be making the final, I would expect. Is anyone going to be able to deal with him?
Absolutely. It's funny, I think the player's opinion of these two masters, because they're back to back, is that Indian Wells is slightly preferred. I think because it's the first master. It's the first first big US tournament. I think Miami is seen as like a slightly smaller sister.
Younger brother.
Younger brother or sister. Well, it depends what your perspective is there, Darren. But it's interesting to see how deep a player did well, say in Indian Wells, how deep they'll actually go in Miami. And for the likes of Djokovic and stuff, obviously you expect him to go all the way anyway in both masters back to back. But it'd be interesting to see if the likes of Goffin and Raonic can repeat their performance. I mean, you would think the tournaments are 2 weeks apart. There's no reason why their form should suddenly drop significantly between these two tournaments. But I don't think that it doesn't really work out like that. It's an interesting thing.
Well, just interestingly enough, again, Djokovic won the last 2 years, both tournaments, 2015, 2014. He didn't win 2012, but in 2011 he did the same thing. So of the 4 wins that he had in the last 5 years in Miami, 3 of those occasions he actually won Indian Wells as well. So a very, very strong case to make for Djokovic to do.
Well, I mean, that's what he does. I think that's what he does. I mean, Djokovic won't be seen at many of those ATP 500s. He's resting away, and then bang, 2 Masters come, and he takes those 2,000 ranking points. Yeah, and
that's all he's
maintains
there for.
His position.
He wants to stay top of the world rankings, and he's not having a hard job doing that, because he's been in final in every tournament he's played in. Obviously, with the exception of Dubai and one of the tournaments earlier last year as well. Interestingly enough, there wasn't really much about that eye infection, other than it stopped him playing that one day, and it was almost like a blip in the radar, and on he went, lost a rake load of records, came to an end. But sure, I suppose every record has to come to an end at some point.
I can't imagine if Djokovic was playing in a Master or a Slam that he would have retired in that match.
But he couldn't see.
He couldn't see. Well, he could see fine. He went over and shook your man's hand. Okay,
I mean, he could see. He could see blurred. I'd imagine vision from one eye, and see how. It's going to be very difficult for him to turn over a game.
Did he actually take a medical timeout during that match to have the eye looked at? I can't remember.
I didn't see there being a medical timeout. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I'm just guessing, but if it was a Master or a Slam, I don't see him retiring.
Well, he would have done everything he could to stay there because he would have known how valuable those points were.
Exactly. Whereas in Dubai, Dubai wasn't
Dubai,
it?
yeah.
No, 500 event. He's not. He's just going to retire. He's thinking ahead of the master, and for us, that's an interesting. It's an interesting thing. I think it shows retirements can hit us heavily potentially.
Yes,
and it just shows that
completely unprecedented.
Yeah, players going to be more likely to retire at a 500 event than a Slam or Master. I think that just proves that.
Yeah,
that even the likes of Djokovic will say, look, okay, it's a 500 event. Yeah, I've got all these records, and yeah, I'm going to have a loss against my name, but I've got 2 Masters coming up. I'm getting out of here. It's an eye infection. I probably could play on, but no, I'm going to quit.
Interestingly enough, he was playing against Feliciano Lopez, and he came up against him just in Indian Wells, and obviously no big problems.
Yeah.
But Lopez
he was wearing
has been
Shung's
very
glasses,
well.
was he?
Huh?
Wearing Shung's glasses.
Just to be sure. Lopez has been going actually very well. He's been quite consistent this season. He's not one who'd be known to be particularly consistent, but at the same time, he's a top 20, 25 roughly player. So he's thereabouts.
It's always weird with those retirement matches. You wonder on Djokovic's behalf, was he genuinely losing that first set because he was being outplayed? It's always strange when a player retires in the middle of the second set or the end of the first set, and it was on the losing. He was losing already. Was he losing? But I think that goes to show that he wasn't.
No.
And Lopez in the post-match interview, this is back in the Dubai match, said that he noticed Djokovic going for more risky shots. Like he wanted to end the points as quick as possible halfway through the first set. So yeah, I'm sure Djokovic did have a problem with his eye.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have been able to fight through it if it was Master or Slam. But I think he wasn't playing at his best, and I don't rate that as an actual win. Well, look, it's a win, but
a win through retirement is not the same as a win. I mean, given the way the bookies treat it, particularly, and as we just said a second ago, like unprecedented defeats for players where the bookie, and we know now the bookies certainly we use, they aren't the most forgiving when it comes to losses. Regardless, they're not going to be giving us any void bets or anything.
Oh no, I mean the bookies have the rules, and it's black and white. I mean, if anyone's in any doubt, and it's a very easy thing to do to not understand your the retirement rules for your bookie.
Yeah.
If you're betting on tennis and you don't know what your bookie's rules are in retirement, go find out now. Yeah. It's going to be in black and white.
You can Google it actually, and even though the text is actually a little bit, it's actually hard to understand some of it. I'm going to be honest, but it's very easy to know this. The main bookies, the most customer friendly bookies, are Paddy Power, your Bet365, those kind of bookies. I think there's 1 or 2 more, and you can find, if you go onto like a board, there's a few forums around who people will literally list it without having to go into each one individually, and they say straight away, black and white, these bookies will actually void a bet on retirement, regardless of whether your player wins or loses the match.
Yeah, and listen, when I wanted to just confirm it 100%, I just went onto the Paddy Power online chat.
Oh yeah,
and I just asked them straight up, listen, if I had money on a hypothetical match and blah 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 happened, what would happen? And they tell you straight up. The lads on the online chat know the rules. Yeah. So just ask them.
And that's a nice, easy way to do it if you've got a bookie who has that. And most of the big bookies do have the chat facility now, which is good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Not much else to say about the Miami tournament other than
there's 2 bets on the cards for the net profit bets, lads. And
I think we'll get 2 bets very comfortably in the next week or so. So stay tuned to Twitter, where we'll be posting them up as soon as we decide.
At Net Profit Bets.
Yeah, netprofitbets.com or at netprofitbets. Is that our Twitter handle?
On Twitter, it certainly is.
Look, it's all at netprofitbets.com anyway. You can listen to this podcast, you can check out our blog, and you can keep up to date with our Twitter account.
Very important. The Twitter account. Get the notification switched on. Don't miss a bet.
It just, as a point of interest, if you'd started off with 100 quid at January, you'd be sitting on 291 quid right now. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I can guarantee you in 2 or 3 podcasts time, keep an eye on that number. It's going to be a lot bigger. All right, so keep in touch, and we'll see you again after Miami.
Excellent.
Cheers.
See you now.
Bye.
Bye.